The topic of the Nazi salute came up. The topic of Social Security came up. The topic of Elon being assassinated came up. And this is about as bad as you could imagine it being.
In today's video, David Pakman absolutely destroys Elon Musk on his ridiculous right-wing talking points, especially his nonsense calling Social Security a Ponzi scheme. Musk, like every other MAGA billionaire, loves to attack programs that actually help everyday Americans. Meanwhile, he's more than happy to cash in on government contracts and tax breaks for himself. But Pakman isn't letting that slide. So let's dive in and watch how David Pakman shuts down Elon Musk in this video.
Let's start with Joe Rogan saying, how could it be that you buy Twitter for billions and then people call you a Nazi? And Elon explains he is definitely not a Nazi.
When you're going through all this USAID stuff, like, here's what's weird. First of all, what is it like to buy a company for $44 billion and then people call you on that same thing that you bought?
I didn't see it coming.
Isn't that funny?
It's classic.
So funny. Rogan's just in stitches.
People will gobble anything down.
Yeah. Oh, he's never gonna stop.
Wait.
What is it like? Like all this, people used to. The left was in love with you.
Yeah.
And now the same idiots are calling you. It's the most bizarre thing I've ever seen in my life.
You know, one of the things they love talking about is people used to think one thing about you, and now they've changed what they think, and that's crazy. But sometimes the opinions of people change based on what the person does. Elon used to be this sort of doofusy, awkward, kind of antisocial tech guy who dramatically accelerated electric vehicles by his actions at Tesla, and so on and so forth. And so we saw him as a kind of benign guy who was doing some good things. Now, all of a sudden, he's wrapped up in political extremism. He's getting involved in all sorts of, he said something about how his son died because of the woke mind virus, all this crazy stuff. And so, yes, it is a different Elon Musk. So people's opinion of him have changed. That's not crazy.
Pause. Are you getting tired of getting half the story from biased news sources? One outlet says one thing and another says the complete opposite. How are you supposed to know what's actually true? That's where ground news comes in. It lets you compare how different media outlets, left, right, and center are covering the same story. So you can see the full picture instead of just the echo chamber. And here's the best part. Click the link in the description and get 40% off the Vantage tier, which gives you even deeper insights into media bias and political trends. Stay informed, think for yourself, and check out ground news in the description down below. Now, the whole conversation was packed with wild claims, and of course Joe Rogan was right there hyping him up the whole time. David Pakman isn't having any of it though. He breaks down exactly why Musk's Victim Act is ridiculous, because newsflash, people's opinions change when you change. Elon Musk's public image has done a complete 180 over the past few years, and honestly, it's not hard to see why. Back in the day, he was seen as this quirky, ambitious tech genius, the guy who made electric cars cool with Tesla and pushed space exploration forward with SpaceX. He was even considered a progressive billionaire, supporting renewable energy, universal basic income, and donating to Democratic candidates. People admired him as a visionary who was reshaping the future. Fast forward to the day, and Musk has fully embraced the MAGA culture war. Instead of being known for revolutionizing industries, he's now more famous for spreading conspiracy theories on Twitter, engaging in bizarre online feuds, and crying about the woke mind virus. Remember when he was praised for making Tesla an industry leader in clean energy? Now, he's actively rolling back Tesla's environmental initiatives, firing sustainability teams, and cozying up to oil industry figures. He went from pushing innovation to boosting right-wing influencers who think climate change is a hoax.
I mean,
there's so many examples of people saying my heart goes out to you. You did it with a little enthusiasm that probably wouldn't be recommended with hindsight.
Yes, but it was obviously meant in the most positive spirit possible.
Yes,
yeah,
obviously. But it's so strange where people want to think that you are openly publicly doing secret Sieg-Heil hand motion.
It's openly, publicly, secretly. Openly, publicly, secretly.
And now I can never point at things diagonally. I can only point at things there and there. And then so you have to divide that.
Yeah.
Because that's where the spaceship is, over there. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. Yeah. When CNN, when I was in all my trouble.
Absurd.
Every time CNN used a photo of me, it was one of the photos from the UFC weigh-ins where I go like this, welcome to the weigh-ins. So every photo is me. Every photo is me with.
It's absurd.
It's so crazy.
It's deliberate propaganda.
Yes.
So that they know it was not. It was obviously not meant in a negative way. That I literally said my heart goes out to you, and it was very positive. The entire speech was.
All right. So it's all cool, but then more substantively, Elon drops this bomb about how Social Security is a Ponzi scheme. Listen to what he had to say.
Well, I mean, the government's one big pyramid scheme, if you ask me.
Yeah, well, you can tell me better than anybody.
Social Security is the biggest Ponzi scheme of all time.
Right, explain that.
Oh, so, well, people pay into Social Security, and the money goes out of Social Security immediately, but the obligation for Social Security is your entire retirement career.
Oh boy!
So you're paying with you're paying like if you look at the future obligations of Social Security, it far exceeds the tax revenue. Far. Have you ever looked at the debt?
Elon is so incoherently explaining this that I'm just going to take over. So he says Social Security is a Ponzi scheme because the money that's paid in by the people still working immediately comes out. Now, a Ponzi scheme would be there's really no money invested. Okay, so the way a Ponzi scheme works would be investor number one invests $1 million and you think that it's invested in a mutual fund, for example, and it's not, right? Just like the people running this fund are just taking the money. The next person comes in and invests $2 million. And then when the first investor wants to pull their money out, their supposed earnings come out of that $2 million that the second investor put in, but there's never really any underlying investments. Like it eventually collapses when there aren't enough new investors to pay the returns. That's a Ponzi scheme. It's a very defined type of scam. Social Security is a pay-as-you-go system. So that's what Elon is kind of getting at here. Current workers pay into it, and that funds benefits for current retirees. It's not a Ponzi scheme. It's not designed to generate profits. It's just a system based on the full faith and credit of the U.S. government. The U.S. government has the authority to tax. It has the authority to borrow. It's not a secret that it's pay as you go. Social Security is designed to be self-sustaining over time. Now, the issue we are coming up against is that as more people retire, if you have more retirees relative to workers, you can have an insolvent or partially insolvent Social Security trust fund. Right now, if nothing is done, right? This is if you do nothing, the trust fund would be depleted in the mid-2030s. That's if you make no changes. But it would still be able to meet 75 to 80% of scheduled benefits. So it would be depleted in terms of accumulated money, but everybody would still be able to get 80% of their promised benefits. It's not a collapse, it's just a shortfall. Now, with some small adjustments, we've talked about a slight raise to the cap. There's a bunch of different ways to do it. You solve the problem. That's not a Ponzi scheme. It's the system as designed with a growing imbalance of workers to retirees, which needs to be addressed. Not the Ponzi scheme that Elon makes it out to be.
David Pakman wastes no time breaking down why Elon Musk's claim is absolute nonsense. A Ponzi scheme is a scam where there are no real investments, just new money coming in to pay off earlier investors, until the whole thing collapses. Social Security, on the other hand, is a pay-as-you-go system, where current workers fund retirees. It's not a scam, it's not a fraud, and Contrary to Musk's fear-mongering, it's not about to vanish into thin air. Even if no changes are made, Social Security would still pay out 75 to 80% of its benefits after the 2030s. And with a few minor policy tweaks, problem solved. But this is classic Musk. He used to be seen as a forward-thinking innovator, but now he's just another billionaire parroting right-wing talking points to rile people up. Instead of offering real solutions, he pushes doomsday narratives and pretends to be some misunderstood genius. Meanwhile, his own companies benefit massively from government subsidies. Tesla, SpaceX, Starlink, all kept afloat with your tax dollars. Funny how he never complains about that government spending. And let's be real, Musk spewing nonsense on Joe Rogan's show is nothing new, but it's getting embarrassing. The guy who was once building the future is now just another MAGA megaphone. But this is it for today's video. I hope you have enjoyed. If you did, make sure to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comment section down below.